Hi, baby angels. It's BB. Welcome back to another tarot tag. Today I'm doing my 22 faves. My favorite major arcana cards. And I thought going in that I needed to do just for one for each because I thought that was the rule. And then I saw some old videos and not everyone did one for each, and I liked that. And so then I thought maybe two, because could I be a Gemini and only pick one favorite when duality is like the name of my game and versatility in taste specifically is the name of my game? No. And then I was having a really hard time just doing two for certain cards. This was a really revealing exercise because I didn't know how much I loved certain cards. And then also I didn't realize how high of expectations I have for other cards. So that's something we'll get into. But let's start on my 22 faves at the beginning, which is the Fool. So these are my favorites. I do have a collection of almost 100 tarot decks. So not everyone is going to be 4, but I think narrowing it down to 4 from almost 100 is pretty good, right? Am I right? Okay. Let's go through it real fast. This first one is, I love that it's renamed the Youth. And I love that it's reflecting that. I love that they're using the Fool as the child because the child doesn't know any limits. The child can dream in an unrestricted way. The child doesn't have all of the cultural kind of biases that we develop and opinions and isn't jaded by the way the world has treated them or people have treated them, and that's kind of the goal of the Fool or the embodiment of the Fool. And so I really, really loved this, not only for what it represented, but the image itself is freaking gorgeous. So next would be so this is the Rosebud Tarot, if anyone's interested. This one is the Intuitive Night Goddess or Goddess Night. I think it's Night Goddess Tarot. And I chose this based off of the depiction of cultures that are more than just Western European cultures, which I love. I love anything with a cat in it. I was born in the year of the tiger, so I've always been very drawn to feline figures. The floral, the night sky, the collage but classical style of illustration. It's all right up my alley, and I really loved the fresh take on the traditional imagery. So you still have the cliff, you have the animal companion, you have the person kind of not being aware of what they're doing, and you have the white flowers, which is like so good, and the sun in the background. So moving on to the Eros Garden of Love Tarot. Again, I love that this was a cat, and I love how cheeky it is, how the color scheme, the illustration style, I love the font, all of it. It's just a fun, refreshing Fool, and the Fool is not my favorite card, so to have something like these is really great. So lastly, I have from the Blood Moon Tarot, the Fool, which, gosh, I wish this card was bigger. But this is a movie I want to watch. This is a book I want to read. This is an image I want to see. It kind of, the scale, even just to put it into a more recent like pop culture moment, reminds me of the remake of Dune. It's epic. It's gorgeous. It's mysterious. It's inviting, but it's scary and intimidating at the same time. This is incredible, and I love it. And I love that you're this small, and there's a big gate, and there's a big world out there. I love the veiled person. I love all the hands. It's like the world is your oyster and it could be your downfall too. So that's the Fool. Let's do the Magician. So I noticed that I really liked the decks that called the Magician the Witch. We've got 2. I liked all of the magicians that I chose were feminine energy, which is interesting, which is just something I guess I want to tap into in myself. The Magician is also considered to be like a Mercury card, so it's a Gemini card, and I like that. I like the non-traditional ways in which these are depicted, and I kind of put them from light to dark, and I don't necessarily mean color scheme, but like energy, right? So this is a very light, like white witch type of look, you know? And then we've got something that's more sensual, something that's more mysterious, something that's more, has a little bit more mystique. I guess that's the same as mysterious, but that's kind of the word that came to me. It has more mystique and it's more sensual. And then we have straight up witch doing her shit, you know? Like, and she is powerful and magical and might hex you, and that's cool. Yeah, those are my favorite magicians. I don't know if I want to go into the meaning of each card for each one. I don't mean each of these cards, but each of the majors, because so much of where I get information is on a visual level, and they're my faves for a reason. Like, they all have meaning to me, and they're my faves because they strike a chord within me visually. But I do like that they all have their own tools, right? So we've got the traditional tools over here with the pentacle, the cup, the sword, and the wand. It's just like a lightsaber. We have the infinity symbol too. So that's all there. Do we have everything here? A pentacle, a cup. Is that meant to be a wand? We don't really have a sword, do we? No, she's just doing her thing, and it's great. But they're tools. And then here, it's completely different. So we have crystals, we have music, we have tarot cards, we have candles, and those are all ritual tools, right? And I love that. I love the difference. So that's my magician fave. Next we have the High Priestess, and I only found 2 that I really liked. And I did notice, oh, I don't know if I said, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Intuitive Night Goddess, Tarot Ratique, Sluttist, okay? So I realized that I like a lot of Tarot Ratique's majors. And I also realized that a lot of decks that I thought I would be using in this video, I tend to really covet their minors. So that was kind of a wake-up call. So High Priestess is a card that I do really love, and this is one of the examples where I thought I would have more, but I guess what I need from a High Priestess, or what really like gets a reaction out of me and something that I like really adore is hard to emulate. It's hard to create an image. It's hard for me to find. So these are the 2 that I liked the most, and I like how they do have similarities somewhat in their color style. This is obviously more muted, and this one's more saturated and has more brightness. I do think it's interesting that they both have nudity, but is it that interesting? Like, how deep are we going? Because it's something that I'm drawn to. It's something that feels natural to me. It feels like a natural part of art and identity, and I think that I love that reflected back to me in cards. I do like that this has some of the symbolism, the pomegranate and things like that. I love that knowing, like, the wisdom of the universe is also like knowing yourself and like being comfortable with who you are, and like the mirror up to herself is just everything. This one is pure fantasy, and it is one of the most stunning images of, I don't know, this is not a mermaid, but, you know, a sea witch that I've ever seen. She also has a pomegranate. I love her hands. I love her fingers. I love that they're webbed. There is the sun. There's also the black and white columns in the background. I'm sorry, I said sun, but I meant moon. Crescent moon. And then there's the moon here too. And there is the landscape in the background. We do have the water. Yeah, I think these are both really amazing cards. Go girls. Okay, so we have the Empress, again, one that I only have 2 for. The Empress is not usually my favorite card. It's not that I don't love what the Empress stands for, because I very much do. It's just the imagery doesn't always hit for me. I haven't been saying what this one was. Did I say this is the Children of Litha. I'm so sorry. I will get better at that, I promise. Okay, let's just do that first. This is the Rosebud Tarot. This is the Apparition Tarot. I love that this is the Life Giver. This seems like such a pure and feminine part of what the Empress means. The nurturer, the protector, in like such a loving way. And it's such a departure from how we usually see the Empress, which I really love. And then this one is just pure feminine energy as well. And I love each of the symbols in this card. I think that the color scheme is really refreshing and interesting and different. And I had an immediate reaction to both of these cards. This feels like Empress energy that I want to embody, or that I want to, like, I don't necessarily want to be a mother. Hey, learning things about me. I've never aspired to be a mom. Doesn't mean I'm not maternal. I very much am. And I also think I'd be good at it. But, you know, but this reminds me of family. It reminds me of the maternal figures that I had in my life and still do. And it's something that I really cherish. So that's my Empress faves. And we have Emperor. So this is the Tarot of the Invisible Light, and this is Yonasa Yaos Tarot. The Emperor is another card that I don't usually like the imagery of. So these are a very big departure, as you can tell. This is how I see the Emperor. I'm a romantic and I always have been, and I am the kind of person where I don't give people a lot of, like, I don't trust people to have any real authority over me unless I have approved for them to be in an intimate relationship with me. And I don't necessarily mean like in this sexual way, even though I don't rule that out. It's very rare that I let someone into my life and my heart, and only then can I take, or will I take, someone's, namely masculine presenting people, their advice or their authority over me, or want their protection necessarily. So this just felt very personal. I just recognized something in this, and I thought that it was perfect for how I view Emperor energy and how I invite it into my life. And then this was really great too. And I love history and anthropology and archaeology, and this just felt like this emperor protected his kingdom and probably died doing it, you know, and yet still exists hundreds of years later, you know, like in this space that he inhabited, where his people lived, And I just really liked that too. So it's my Emperor. Next we have the Hierophant, and I can talk. And this surprised me that I got so many. So let's go. This is the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition, Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot, the Abyssal, and the Yonasa Yaus. I loved that this is very mystic, and it has to do with the universe and that kind of the order of the universe, and that is such a different take on the Hierophant rather than religious or societies, systems, and institutions and schools. And it's more kind of like the school of the universe and the order of the universe and how that works so effortlessly and how that is so intriguing and provides stability for everyone. So that was really cool. I don't ever see the Hierophant as a feminine presenting figure. It's also a mermaid. It's also vintage. Sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up to look at this in a different way, you know? I also loved this one because it felt like worship. Sorry, I'm moving because my foot's asleep. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, this one felt like worship, which, you know, religion is not something that I have personally been interested in for most of my life. And so this was such a different take on that. And it felt kind of, I don't know, I guess there's a part of me that does feel like it's taboo, and that's what makes me like it more. So, yeah, just opening your mind to things. I like how the imagery really informs these meanings. And then this was, if I was going to follow any Hierophant, it would be this one. I mean, I might follow and be very scared, but this just was so appealing and so different and so much more organic and in touch with the world and the things that I would be interested in than the traditional Hierophant who sits on, you know, some throne. I know it's not a throne, but you know what I mean? Like some altar and tells you from this lofty place, like what your morality should be or what you should do. And then this person lives in the village and knows everyone. And I don't know. This is a much more interesting figure to me. So those are my Hierophant faves. All right, next we have the Lovers. The Lovers was really hard for me because I thought that, I mean, it's one of my favorite cards. It's the Gemini card. It's something that I identify with a lot, and I still had a really, I don't know, I was surprised by how little of the Lovers cards that I like really loved. There were ones that were like good or I liked, and it's weird because I didn't necessarily know what I was like looking for, you know, what I would like more than something else or what would make a card better. These are the ones I was drawn to. Again, interesting that they have similar color schemes. Interesting that they all have pink other than our many queens. So this is the Intuitive Night Goddess. This is the Tarot Erotique. This is the Many Queens, and this is the Children of Litha. And you'll notice too that there are a lot of repeat cards from decks that I have. And so it's interesting that the decks I thought I was going to be pulling from, like for example, like Fyodor Pavlov, things like that, I tended to like cards specifically in the minors, and then but the same went for other decks. So like these decks, I probably have multiples of each of these, and that's interesting in itself too. So like the artist or the creator of the deck really hit the nail on the head for me with the majors. It wasn't just one major. It was just like, it was multiple, you know, which is really cool. So I do love that this is called the Wayfarer, and that it has to do with, you know, the common theme of choices with the Lovers. And, you know, you see two paths here. You see Jupiter. I thought that that was really cool and a reminder. And I like that there's only one person which is a really big, important part of, I don't know, embodying romance and being a lover. To me, that was like a lot of my inner journey was learning that I could be a romantic and I could be a lover and not have a lover, you know? This one is just really cool imagery wise, and it's like, you know, a different take on the traditional one. I love the cityscape in the background. I love the night sky. I'm a sucker for florals, and this veiled figure is very spoopy and very cool. And this like young couple, oh my gosh, being dirty. I don't think I realized that till right now, but I love it. And then it has like, what, Saturn's rings? It's very interesting. This is a really fun card. Again, another take on the traditional, but an updated. I loved this energy field that's moving between the two and the angel that's blessing them or watching over them. This was fun. I liked this one. This looks like there's like a, oh, that's her arm. Okay. And I'm like, but is it only going through this person's? I love how gender non-conforming both of these figures are too. Like their genitalia and their chests both have like you could interpret this as like they're both trans, which is really, really cool. Yeah, I love it. I love that deck. Oh, so clean, beautiful lines. Love it, love it. And then the Children of Litha, which has kind of the Adam and Eve reference with the snake, but then this is obviously Fae, you know? And I do love how provocatively they're sitting. They look like they could be in the middle of, you know, some good fun times. And again, they are both a little bit androgynous, which is really cool too. But it's very romantic and very fantasy, and I like that a lot. So these are my lovers. The Chariot. Here are my Chariot picks. We've got the Many Queens, the Intuitive Night Goddess, the oh my god, why have I always like lately been forgetting the name of this freaking deck, and it's so good. I think it's because there's another deck that like that's newer that I like keep thinking of instead of this one. Oh my gosh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, this is the Telesma. And oh my, okay, I'll be right back. Hold on. Spolia, geez. And like I never used to lose that, but then I think there's a new deck out that starts with an S, and so I've been like confusing it with that one, and then I just lose this word completely, which is so funny. Okay, so the Chariot is the Cancer card, which I love this for. I love this car, and I think this overall image is just such a fun, refreshing visual when we're so used to the other one that like is really awesome, but I'm like into divining new things, new meanings, and also kind of, I don't know, clearing my mind. And so it's really, really cool to be able to see elements of the art that are like super symbolic, but also fun and updated and kind of sexy in a way. And this color scheme too is like so good. Again, we've talked about swans. I love the black and the white, you know, in going with the traditional theme, but it's really pared down, and it's really about, you know, your knowledge of what this is, what the card means, and then, you know, what you're feeling from what's happening here, you know. Spolia is a great deck. Okay, so then this one is called Freedom, which is really cool. And again, as you can tell, the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot has some really amazing, imagery. And I love that it's not just the freedom of this person, it's the freedom of these animals. And so what would you do if, like, what would the animals do if you just opened all of the gates to the zoo? and they would just run out, and they would have like so much authority and agency over who they are. And I feel like that's what the Chariot's about, agency and like building up to something, and like, yeah, like, I don't know, I get that feeling from this card, and I love that. And then Many Queens, the update on the traditional stunning imagery. Love it. It's very simplistic in my mind, you know. I love the cape with the sun and the stars. These horses are adorable. I love the figure. I love the scepter. So got the crescent moon crown. So good. So good. Love the Chariot. All right, strength. We only have 2. So these are the strength cards that stood out to me. This is the Tarot Ratique, and this is the Labanco Tarot. And this one is just a great play on the traditional again. It's just more psychedelic. It's a great example of collage art. I love the colors. And so, you know, sometimes it just gets boring, like seeing someone standing there holding a lion's mouth open, you know, and this really embodies that the strength is, you're the strength. And like, this is not someone who's bodybuilding or trying to force anything. And I think that's the point of strength, is like, we talk about this all the time, right? It's this inner reserve, it's this inner strength. And I feel like this illustrates that really well. And, you know, in saying that, going to the Labanco Tarot, I love the intimacy of this card. I love the realism of this card, along with its kind of fantasy elements, like this hood and stuff. But I don't know about you, but I've been in this position many a time with someone when they were not feeling strong, or when I was not feeling strong. And even just the fact that you can see, you know, in our society, they expect feminine presenting people to shave their legs. And this is a couple, I'm assuming, where they're so close that this person has the confidence and the comfort to be able to just be their natural selves and not have to live up to any societal weird patriarchal standard. And the amount of vulnerability, like this person is nude and this person is clothed, and there's definitely a power exchange here where this person on top has more power than the person below. But what that is they have the strength to excuse me, be there for them. And then this person has the strength to be vulnerable. And it's very intimate and it's very beautiful. I think it's one of my favorite major arcana cards ever. I think it's so real. So those are my strength picks. We've got the Hermit. The Hermit was a hard one to find too. But I think it's really interesting that both of these cards are so similar. Like, I did not mean to do that, but they truly are. So this is the Tarot Ratique, and this is also the Labanco Tarot, right? Yes. I love the constellations, the night sky, the mountain. It is being on your own and looking inward and going on this exploration, this personal exploration. I love the paintbrush, because personal explorations, I feel like so many times result in creativity. I love the peace that I feel from both of these. Even their robes are similar colors. You know, you might have the shininess in the back, like in the sky for this one and not in the robes. And you have the shininess in the robe for here. But wow, they're both very stunning and they hit you in a really powerful way, which I like very much. I also like that this is not based on youth, which I guess is traditional because the Hermit is usually an old man, but I feel like we need more age inclusivity, and I just like that they didn't turn this into a young person. This is an old, like, classical statue. So I don't know, that's neither here nor there. But maybe the fact that it doesn't look like completely human is something that's cool too. Love it. I love both of these. That's why they're here, right? All right, so the next is the Wheel of Fortune. We have the Crimson Asteria Tarot, the Yonasa Yaos Tarot, and the Many Queens. The Many Queens is kind of a distorted, kind of pushed out of the lines traditional, which I think is really, really cool and fun, but has all of the good elements there. This is more of a kind of traditional Wheel of Fortune, but the art style and the impact and the stars and the different kind of values of this color, this red and pink, which I love, 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 is so stunning. It's very striking and I love it. And then in the middle, we have one that feels like it could almost be death, right? But it is kind of the circle. It's the winds of fate. It's the circle of life. It's death becoming something else. It's change. It's, yeah, it's kind of like destiny. And so I really liked this take on this too. Simple, easy Wheel of Fortune, you know? Okay, so the next is Justice. And I did use a Justice that's an 8 instead of an 11, but I used Strength as the 8, so here we are. So this is the Tarot Ratique, this is the Eros Garden of Love, and this is the Mary L. This Mary L version has always striked me. She doesn't look happy about serving justice. Justice isn't always happy, you know? It's not always a great ending. It just has to be done. Justice is like, sometimes it's an obligation, sometimes it's a celebration. But I loved this Cleopatra. I loved the asp here and her makeup and her headpiece. And it also just made me think, like, sometimes justice isn't served, right? I don't know. Anyway, that's what this kind of makes me think. Sometimes justice is served and it's not pretty, and then sometimes it's not served and that's worth mourning too. So sorry about the sirens if you can hear them. I live in the city. I loved this take on justice. I thought it was so cute. I love the little mouse here. I love the bra as instead of like the scales. Incredible. It's so good. I love how much of the card is actually just like a curtain being drawn away. Beautiful, creative card. Love this deck so much. I just got it. I'm obsessed. So then this one is a little bit gaudy. This one's a little bit all over the place. And this, I do have to admit, is more about the symmetry and the image being so appealing to me rather than the meaning. I'd have to read, because this is a newer deck for me too, about if it says anything about this imagery and the definition of the card. But there was just something about this I couldn't deny. It was just very stunning. So those are my justice picks. Very unconventional, I know. I'm an unconventional gal sometimes. So next we have the Hanged Man. Those sirens are still happening. I'm gonna take a second. Okay, I'm back. That was no time for you. A few seconds for me. Okay, the Hanged Man. Are we seeing a theme here? This was not, I guess, on purpose. These were my favorites. In this one, I don't even know if you can see a rope. Maybe it's just like these smaller vines here. I don't know what it is about the water, but the fact that it's present in both, I think, means something for me. They're both black-based, you know, background. This is the Children of Litha, by the way, and this is the Labanco. I love a mermaid. I love this mermaid. I think that both of their faces have some sort of neutrality to them. Like, this one almost feels at peace when this is like a torture position to be in, you know? And this one feels like she knows what she's doing and it's fine and she's gonna get out of it. I love the element of like the way that this is drawn, that it's a sheer shirt, and then how that mirrors like the fins, how they're, you know, how they're, what's the word, translucent, you know. This was definitely more of an aesthetic choice for me. I think that the definition of the card is here for both, but I don't know. I think this is beautiful, and I feel like these people could exist in the same, this creature and this person could exist in the same universe, and maybe they're in the same story. Maybe they're lovers. I don't know. Maybe I'm in a very romantic mood. I don't even know why. Like, nothing is happening in my life to make me feel that way. But okay, so the next is death. And here are my faves. The Rosebud Tarot, the Eros Garden of Love, the it used to be called Epic, but now it's called something else. Stunning, the Stunning Tarot, and the Many Queens. I swear I looked at every single one of my decks. I want you to know this because it feels like I didn't. It feels like I looked at 10 of my decks and that's what I'm using, but I looked at every single tarot I have. It's just that these ones did the best job for like everything. Excuse me. Okay, let's go. As I said when I first showed this deck in my collection series, it's one of my favorite decks ever. I think it has nostalgia and meaning. It has some somberness to it, but it has a little bit of whimsy to it as well. And it's so unique, which I love. This death card is pure, it's pure naughtiness. It's pure fun. And I absolutely love that. It's in line with what this deck is. I mean, I love the hand like coming out of the ground, holding up the hip of death personified. The leaning on the scythe and this pinup pose. I love the art style. I love the colors. I love the flower. I love that the clouds look like butts. I don't know. Sometimes you just need that reminder that it's going to be okay, even if you're losing something, even if you're mourning something. And it's the natural part of life. Speaking of natural part of life, I think that this image has been used before as far as like a snake peeling its skin. It's also showing kind of the bones of, you know, previous meals that maybe the snake has had. And this is just a striking image. So in line with kind of the rest of her stunning tarot. But I liked this one a lot too. And I liked that it felt dangerous and uneasy, because sometimes like when we're going through the feelings of this card, those are included, right? You might feel apprehensive to even process the death that you're experiencing, and not in a literal way, death, but you know, the loss or the change, you know. And then we have the Many Queens, which is just such a good job at kind of reimagining the classic visuals of the card. I just think that this is really cool. I like that it's dead on instead of to the side, because he's coming for you. And I think that like it's hard for us to face this theme head on. And I think that's why it's so impactful here. So those are my death cards. We've got Temperance. I hope we make it. We're gonna make it. This is the Lioness Oracle Tarot. The Lioness Oracle. I feel like I'm missing a word here. But yeah, the Lioness Oracle. And then the Abyssal. And I do love that these both have angel wings in them and florals. There's something ethereal about Temperance. There's something soft and accepting. I don't know why I don't need, you know, the water in Temperance and like the robed figure in the traditional way. It doesn't resonate with me as much. I just feel like these are more, I don't know, there's more beauty in that. And I think Temperance is a beauty. It's a beautiful thing. So I like the soft, like moderation in both of these cards. All right, the Devil. The color schemes are interesting to me in these cards. I like, apparently, when the Devil is feminine, I guess. And I also like it when it is seductive and beautiful. And I like when it's also self-possessed. And that's what it feels like for me. Like, I mean, this person might be controlling these people, but that's not my first instinct. My first instinct is that these are all self-possessed people choosing to give in to whatever temptation, choosing to have like maybe not a strong will in the moment, or choosing to be impulsive in the things that maybe they love but or like or are drawn to but are not good for them. And yeah, I mean, I think this image is incredible. And I think that, I don't know, there's like this one especially is like, there's a impetuous, like carefree vibe about it. Like they just are not, there's no consequences. And then this one is kind of showing the chains and consequences of diving into your baser desires in a way that is destructive, right? Or damaging. Both really beautiful. Did I say what these were? Terroratique, Labenko. Okay. Okay, we've got the Tower. It's interesting to me that these are so similar. So this is the Lioness Goddess Oracle. Oh, maybe I was missing Goddess. And this is the Telesma. This looks like Vegas to me. And I think that like there's so much tower energy in Vegas. I don't know. It's true. I'm not making that up. I just think that like a lot of, even just the idea of gambling, right? Like a lot of people like lose a lot, or like a lot of extreme things happen because there's a lot of extreme behavior that happens there, right? I like that they both feel cataclysmic. They both have a lot of like beauty. Yeah, like there's this element of, you know, after you go, like the devil, the lingering devil is here, right? The beauty, the seduction, the pleasure of the devil is in here. And then it's also showing like the results of that. So I really like that for both of these. It was cool that these kind of were so similar, and they were the ones that stood out to me the most. There's no real tower in them. I guess you could count this hotel, but the feeling is there for sure. All right, so we have the Star. So we've got Ethereal Visions Luna Edition, the Night Goddess, Intuitive Night Goddess, the Tarot of the Divine, and Telesma. I love the pool, and I love that the pool is like, it looks like it's an image taken in the day, or yeah, it looks like a daytime pool, but then the rest is like a black night sky. I love how she's veiled. I love how innocent and pure she looks. And I kind of just am getting that feeling from like her face. She has a very soft like look on her face. Not a lot of intensity, not a lot of, it doesn't look like she has a lot of hardship. It's serene, it's neutral, and there's no doubt that everything she wishes for, maybe she's the one that grants the wishes, you know? I definitely love this. I love the oracle feeling of the vibe of this figure. It's just really striking and beautiful, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to it. I haven't thought of the star as an oracle before, which is really interesting. This one I love for the fact that it has a lot of the traditional elements in it, but again, we're not seeing Western European culture here, which is really cool. And I love the juxtaposition of this deck in general, that has like the soft colors mixed with just like on this background of black and stars. There's a reason this deck is so well loved. The Tarot of the Divine I love so much, and there are a lot of images that I really adore from it, and I was surprised that I had less of them in this video, but this is just the sweetest thing ever, and it breaks my heart at the same time because I feel like something's wrong with this little baby, with the baby goat, and like she's wishing, in my mind she's like wishing on the star for the goat, but I don't think that's the story, and I know I could easily look it up. I have read like half of the book, but I haven't read all of it, and but the image on its own just does so much for me and like my inner child, and just makes me feel so many things. That's why it's here. So my stars. Next is the moon. I have 3 moon cards. Again, similar color story, which is always so fun. This one I really loved, and it is from the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. This one's Many Queens, and this is Spolia. I loved this wolf looking up at the moon and the way that the moon was looking at it, and it has a softer feeling than I think a lot of the moon cards do. And that makes me kind of spin my wheels more about how can I interpret this, and it makes me look at the other cards around it a lot more too, and how comfortable this dog, or this, yeah, I think it's a dog, so the wolf would probably have a bigger tail. This dog, you know, feels under the comfort and safety of the moon, and the secrets that this dog must know, and the, you know, the wisdoms and truth this dog must know. Or is it the black dog of death, you know, walking through the forest, and the way that the moon and like death can relate on what they've seen, you know, and the things that they hide, whether intentionally or not. This moon, Many Queens does like this abstract thing, right, with the RWS images, and it's just too good. I think taste-wise, it's just on the money. And like, I love that even the name is kind of placed inside the face of the moon. You've still got the primordial self kind of coming out of the waters. It's just rad. And then the Spolia doing an amazing job at minimalism with like maximum emotional reaction. This could be like the 3 fates. It could be 3 different oracles. I know that the flowers always have symbolism. I just think it's visually so stunning, and I can see this and just go in a reading, right? Just go off of it, which is really cool. Okie dokie, we got the sun. We're like home stretch, my friends. Okay. So this is the Fantastic Menagerie. This is the Labenko and the Many Queens. We've talked about the Many Queens. We just like accept it. I like every major card by Many Queens. I like all the changes that they make. This feels very 60s or 70s. It feels way more friendly than any other sun that I've seen in the traditional aspect, and I love it. We've got the Labenko, this little boy on his mighty steed, going to do like whatever adventure he has in mind next, and being protected and warmed by like the sun, like embraced by the sun and embodying the sun. I like how it's behind his head and he is the sun. I love that concept. And then this one I adore. I love all the little dragonflies above this rooster's head, and it definitely reminds me of Rockadoodle, and I just see this and I go Chanticleer, and I wouldn't be wrong because Chanticleer is rooster in French, so we're fine. I love this image, and I love that he is the caller of the sun, you know? And, you know, it could be said that, I mean, it's known that roosters crow in the morning, but maybe back in the day, I feel like I've heard this before, where like there's this mythology of roosters bringing the sun on with their call, which is just like so cool. Anyway, these are my sun picks. I love them. I love this card. I'm a Leo rising, and I don't always love the sun. So, I mean, if you haven't noticed, the placements I have and the cards that are associated with those placements, it's not easy for me to find images that I really love because I'm looking for something better. I'm looking for something that really hits, and feeling like a unique person makes it difficult to be represented by other people, you know, and their art. So the next card is Judgment, and I chose the Rosebud Tarot and the Stunning Tarot. This is the first edition, and my last Stunning Tarot card was the first edition as well. So the keyword for this one is emergence, and I think that's a great word for Judgment. I loved the representation here and the different take on what this could mean. I think there's a lot to go off of here, and I think that there are a lot of different ways that you could interpret this card, and I love just kind of the joy of this card. It makes me very happy. And then this one I love too, and you know, Judgment is kind of like an inner knowing and an inner acceptance and like a grace you have with yourself and other people. And I feel like that when I look at this, it's not a judging eye, it's a graceful, accepting, knowing eye, which is really beautiful. Okay, we made it. Oh my gosh, last one. Is this the longest like video ever, or does it feel so long because I just filmed a different video? I don't know. You tell me. I'm so sorry. I broke all the rules. So the last card is the World. We have the Fantastic Menagerie, we have the Mary L, and we have the Children of Litha. The World is hard too. I do like the traditional world imagery, but when it came to my favorites, I felt like I needed to go kind of off the beaten path. I love the all of the energy in this card. I love how when you're dancing, you feel so much a part of the world. And I can relate to that. And you feel it, you're in the middle of it, and you feel so elated and connected to yourself and your body and like where you are and what you're doing. Like this, like the world is so abundant. Like, I don't know. This is that vibe for me. This is definitely more of a cosmic vibe and a nurturing vibe and a kind of Mother Earth vibe. I love the purple because it feels majestic and mystical. I love the orange because it feels friendly. I love the look on her face. Very cool. And then this one just reminds me of like the world and its nature and how beautiful and cyclical and sweet and like nurturing it is, just naturally. Not necessarily people, but how much the world gives us, again with like the abundance thing. And it's stunning to look at. So those are my 22 faves. Let me know if that was like way too much and you hated it. I wanted to do things that were different. It doesn't mean that I don't like the traditional images. I don't know, I just kind of went with what hit me. So I really hope that you enjoyed, and I want to say thanks for being curious. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being my friend. But, you know, my mom's coming. I gotta go.